In this video, I'm going over some tips on running the ball in Madden 25. The first tip is know when to audible into or out of a run play. This one might seem a bit obvious, but I run the ball more than the average player, and I notice myself missing out on a ton of free yards by not audibling into runs when I should. To help with this, what I like to do is once I see their defense, I ask myself, will a run play work here? Figure that out. You just look at what formation they're in, where their user is. Do they have a lot of people down in the box? Do they have a light box? If they have a light box, something like this is going to be the most obvious situation. Just want to audible into a simple zone run. They're expecting the pass. And you just take your free yards. We got 8 yards there. You can get a lot more against a look like this, but it's just really simple. You see a look like this, you know, take the yards. If you get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, it's definitely worth it. But it's also important to know when to audible out of a run. Say you're in a run formation here. They give you a look like this. They start bringing their guys down. You see their user right in here, and you're in a run play. There's a good chance this user is going to shoot one of these gaps here and stuff your run. You got a press going on here. So that might be a situation where you want to audible out. And if it's looking like they're going to blitz, you might want to switch to something like a screen play. Or if you think you can hit them over the top, you'll want to switch to a pass play. So it's just something you want to pay attention to pre-snap. Is a run going to work here? Is a pass going to work here? Are they going to be blitzing on me? If it looks like a heavy blitz, maybe go with a screen play if you don't think you can pick up all those rushers. Or if you think you can, hit them over the top. So now you've decided to run the ball. You've got a good run play. You like the look that you have. The next thing you want to do is focus on your blockers. So you take a look and you've got 6 blockers here, plus a fullback is going to be a lead blocker. So you want to focus on where you have your leverage, what gap the run is designed to go to, where their players are at. And you want to figure that out pre-snap a little bit, and then just kind of watch right when you snap the ball, where the run's designed to go, where the blockers have their leverage. And you want to read that at the first level, which is the offensive line. And then you're going to want to pay attention to your lead blocker, and he'll usually make it to the second level. So the first level is going to be your offensive lineman, and then their defensive lineman, and then you're going to want to look at the linebackers as well. You just want to focus on where your leverage is, where your advantage is, where they have, say they have an overload on one side, maybe run it to the other side. So you just want to take a look and see where you have the advantage, really. Let's say they spread out and they do something like this. They do like an outside contained blitz. You're not going to want to run it to the outside here. Say you run a stretch play. That's not going to work here because they have their guys shading to the outside and they have a contain. You can kind of see they have that leverage there. So if you do run the ball, you're probably going to want to run it up the middle. And if you get through up the middle there, a lot of times you can break it for a touchdown if they have that leverage. Or, you know, just count the guys also. With this look, you have a run to the left. You see you have 3 offensive linemen on the left, if you include the center there. And you see they have 3 defensive linemen plus a 4th guy in Baker right over here. So you're probably not going to want to run to that left side. You know, a run to the right side might make a little more sense. Another thing you're going to do is keep an eye on their user. If they've got their user down in the box here and he's doing something like this, there's a good chance he's trying to run through one of these gaps here. Just keep an eye on him, and whatever gap he chooses, you're probably not going to want to take that gap because he's going to hit stick you, and there's a decent chance you're going to fumble the ball. Another important thing is you're going to want to know when to use sprint. Typically, you're going to want to wait to hit sprint until you really need it. A lot of times when you sprint too early, they're going to come off their blocks. You hit sprint right away. You see he shed right away there. When, if you just wait a minute, wait for the block to set, then you hit sprint once you get past them, you're going to get a lot more yards there. But then there's some run plays where you can sprint a little bit earlier, like right there. If your guy's faster than that guy, and that's going to be on reverses or jet sweep plays, you might want to sprint a little bit earlier. Knowing when to sprint is very important. Typically, it's best to wait to hit the sprint button until you see some open field, hit it, and then try and get those extra yards. The next thing you want to keep in mind is you want to use deception and misdirection on your runs. Typically, it's a good idea to have a run play that goes within each formation, one that goes to the right, one that goes to the left, and one that goes right up the middle, so that they don't know where you're going to be running the ball. So a situation like this, you have your default run, it's going to be to the right. If you run into the right a lot, they're going to start overloading to that side. And if you have an audible that goes to the opposite side, it's going to make it a lot easier to get those yards. Or if you're running to the outside a lot, they're going to start spreading out, trying to keep you from getting to the outside. And you just switch to run up the middle, and you can get huge yards when you do that. As an example, in this formation, you've got an end around, you got a dive, you got a toss to the right. If you're running the ball, they have no idea what you're going to be doing. Another way to create misdirection and deception are RPO plays. These are plays where you can either run or pass. And you've got a play like this. You see they're loading up the box, they're blitzing, they're thinking you're going to run. Instead, you can pass it real quick to another guy. With these RPOs, you see the box is loaded on that left-hand side. They're blitzing. You'll just hit that slant on the back end, and that creates a little bit of confusion. Another good thing to do is run option plays. With an option play, you can either run the ball with your quarterback, or he can flip it to his running back. Something like this, the speed option. Break it outside, flip it out. And that's also another way to kind of mix it up and create a little bit of confusion. Another thing you want to keep in mind is just don't give up on the run. Let's say they've been stuffing you all game long. You haven't been able to get anything going. Just keep trying different run plays until something works. Just mix it in there. I know if you're down big, you're still going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. But every so often, you're going to be able to break one, even if it's a run play. There's a good chance, if they're expecting you to pass the ball, that you can get a run play and you can break a big one. I've seen it all. It happens all the time. And then another obvious one that even I forget about every so often is to use the run to manage the clock. Let's say it's the end of the half. There's only a minute left. Use the run play to get the clock moving, so that you can get into a position where you're going to have the ball last before half, or near the end of the game, you're not going to give them enough time to score. I like to keep that number around 30 seconds. If I can score with 30 seconds or less left in the half, there's a good chance that I can either stop them, play conservative defense that stops them, doesn't allow them to get a field goal or score at all, or it puts them in a situation where they have to throw the ball and you know they're going to throw it. And there's a decent chance you can get a turnover and you still have enough time to score yourself. So a lot of people like to run it down to 0 seconds on the clock and score exactly. I like to give myself that little 30-second buffer just in case I need that extra time, or put some pressure on them to give myself a chance to maybe get a turnover and score myself. Another thing I like to do is use motion when I'm running the ball. And what that allows you to do is figure out either what type of defense they're in. So something like this, you run motion, he follows you all the way across the field. High likelihood they're in man defense. And if he doesn't follow all the way across and he goes all the way across and another defender kind of follows him, there's a good chance they're in zone. You can also use motion to adjust your blocking. You see right there, you brought him in and he kind of took that contain guy and he blocked him to the inside. So you can use motion to switch up the blocking assignments, and you can use it to figure out what kind of defense they're in. So there are a lot of good ways to use motion when you're running the ball also to gain a little bit of an advantage. You can also flip the play. You can see they flip with you. Some people will run a defense where they don't flip with you, and a lot of times when you flip the play, you're going to have an advantage on one side or the other when you're running the ball. Another thing you want to keep in mind is don't just spam the same run play over and over. They're going to eventually figure out what you're trying to do, and they're going to figure out how to defend against it. So if you're doing the same run play, they'll eventually make an adjustment, and then you're not going to be able to use that run play in a situation when you really need it. So what I recommend is kind of save your run plays for a critical moment when you need a first down. So you have that play in your back pocket that you're confident in, that you can get that first down. That being said, if you've got a run play that works, definitely go back to it. If you're playing someone and you've got a run play that works a couple times, maybe go away from it for a few plays, 3, 4, 5, 6 plays, and then come right back to it, maybe even a couple times in a row. But don't just spam the same run play over and over. One more thing with option plays you might want to keep in mind is put your ball carrier on conservative if you're planning on running option plays. The reason being is your quarterback will fumble. If they hit stick your quarterback or they attempt to strip, he's going to put the ball on the ground. And then the last tip is just be unpredictable. It sounds simple, but occasionally running the ball in passing situations and passing the ball during running situations is just really important to keep doing. You want to try and get in their head a little bit. If you're toting on them a few plays in a row and you notice that they're starting to stack the box, hit them with play action over the top, and also just make sure you have a good run and pass play in every formation so that you can just audible back and forth. I'd say that's the most important thing, is just keep them off balance, and that's going to give you a huge advantage with running the ball. Those are just a few tips I have, but let me know what you guys think, and thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.